Hi everyone, welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about how to trap and tweak bases for Legends League in Clash of Clans. We'll be talking a lot specifically about how to defend Meteor Golems and kind of the different approaches to doing that. I didn't do a base building guide really at Town Hall 18 with really focused on trap placements and how to defend Meteor Golems as well. So this video will be great for that, for those of you who want to learn how to trap and tweak bases as well, because even if you don't know how to build bases, which can be a bit harder, anyone can learn to kind of trap and tweak just with some practice and testing. Now this was one of the bases I made early on at Town Hall 18 to try and defend Meteor Golems. Notice kind of the core Town Hall setup. I just saw that people at the time were using these kind of setups with a Town Hall, maybe Infernos in the core and the Revenge Tower. And notice how it's isolated by those kind of double wall sections. These wall sections are good against Meteor Golems because they might try to break through one wall, but then they have to go through another, which is annoying. And especially after the recent balance changes, it says even better because Meteor Golems deal less damage to walls. So it's one of those things that the attackers might not notice as much, but as a defender, it definitely makes a difference when you have those double wall setups against Meteor Golems. Now, how did I kind of try to set up this base? Well, when I was trying to build it, I was thinking that, okay, I want to make some kind of fireball bait somewhere so I know people where they would enter in from the base. So I put a lot of fireball value in this area. I thought, okay, maybe people might fireball this area and then come in from behind the sweepers like this, which is a common idea, and that always helps when you can have attackers coming in from consistent directions on the base because it's easier to bait it. So that's the idea with that. And then the back end, there's like the defensive heroes, poison towers, clan castle and all that. So that works out quite nicely. Now we can look at the traps, how I kind of trap this. Notice the Teslas in this area. As I was saying, I would predict the fireball in that area. Now at first I thought I might place the Teslas like this to kind of bait the fireball, but then I realized if people try to pull the Teslas with an archer expecting some kind of bait or a balloon or whatever, then it won't work. But instead when you play the Teslas like this, people could play the fireball here and then they might play the Meteor Golems into there or whatever. But the Teslas are going to kind of mess up the pathing. So the fireball is supposed to create pathing, but then the Teslas will pop up and then they won't be pathing anymore and the Meteor Golems might split off in a different direction or something. So that's why Teslas are quite nice in areas where you expect a fireball. Skeleton traps could help, if there's like a bit of a warden charge. Or even just against a monolith, if people are coming from the other side of the base, like they fireball this area, and then they come in through here. A back-end Tesla farm always helps with skeleton traps and all that, so it works both ways. Now the air traps, there were a few different trap versions I had for this base. Just on this one, I thought people would kind of come in through here. And then the red bombs to kill the Coco-loons, black mines to kill the healers. But then another approach is also, I think later I realized that red bombs should probably be around here because that's maybe where the Coco-loons would go. And then the black mines more focused towards this area because people want to smash into the core. And this was, of course, as people were learning Town Hall 18, just kind of improving their attacking skills. They learned to kind of just try and smash straight into the core, not really go around it because it's just not as smart. But just a kind of a minor change with, where you think the healers will go and the air traps. Notice the giant bombs over here with the spring traps on the flanks. That's mainly to kill a royal champion on the flanks. Kill the spirit fox, also damage the royal champion. That's kind of the best way to use these bombs. So if there's a fireball here, Meteor Golems coming through here, the healers get baited, and then the Royal Champion kind of gets baited over here with all the bombs, so that works nicely. Now let's look at the next base we have to show you how we can also defend Meteor Golems, and later on we're also I'll show you how I kind of trap a base right in front of you, how I kind of find bases for legends to choose to tweak and trap like that. But now let's go on to the second base, which I built as well early on. This was kind of a box base with the light beam. The light beam is not that good, but I thought it was decent at the time. Can allow you to build some kind of isolated compartments, and you know, it's an option for sure. Maybe you can even use the bomb hive. It's okay. But whatever, the light beam works fine on this version of the base. With this base, you'll notice a similar idea, like I give nice fireball value here. People just need to get some invis to go for it, and then maybe they'll play Meteor Golems over here in some way. But then I made this entry kind of difficult because, for example, these walls, which are pretty important, make sure that Meteor Golems don't path into the light beam and revenge tower area. And same over here, these walls are also good because the Meteor Golems will continue to path around here. In the past with Root Riders, it was important only where the defenses are placed. You know, like you could even have storages in the core like this because I don't know, the queen might get stuck on them and the Root Riders would go ahead and die. But now with Meteor Golems, the best way to kind of make sure they don't pass into areas is just to make dead zones with walls so they can't go into them at all. So that's obviously pretty good. And on the back end you have, you know, the clan castle, poison towers, and defensive heroes, which is great. Now another option, which is an entry that some people might do as well, is to get a fireball maybe on this multi-gear cannon or monolith or whatever. Which is why you would notice that I put the Tesla farm here again. If they try to get the fireball, well, the Teslas will pop up and they won't mess up the fireball itself, but then there won't be the pathing anymore that the attacker's looking for to kind of maybe fireball this section and then Meteor Golems through here, so that kind of messes it up. And then there's the added risk of ending on the town hall late on and, you know, having to deal with some fire spitters and such. You'll notice on the air traps as well, I thought maybe the healers might go through here, and even if they come from the back end, they could hit the black mines late on. Don't really need red bombs over here because the black mines are late, so the Cocoloons would have died from something. And then again, the giant bombs kind of to kill maybe a royal champion on the flank or even just damage Meteor Golems a little bit. So that's kind of the idea with how to defend Meteor Golems. It's not too big of a thing. You just need to kind of predict where they're going to come in from. Make sure you have something, maybe make the fireball difficult or not get the value it would expect, and then, baiting the healers, baiting the royal champion on the flank and all that. Now the next thing we have is, how do I find bases, maybe if I want to tweak them or trap them for Legends League? Well, usually I would go into kind of some base copying server like this one, and then look at the bases that are available, and then, think which one kind of looks good, and then maybe I could trap it. So for example, seeing this base, I'm like, probably not, because the core kind of looks like it could be fireballed easily, and I'm sure people would have a crack on it, even if they don't use the Angry Jelly. But let's see, what else do we have? We have this base from Stars. There are a lot of bases to look at, potentially. There's also this interesting base over here. I might decide, for example, that I like this one. It's kind of common, but let's just get the link, copy it, and start to trap it up. So once we get the base and trap it, then we'll have to, of course, test it and make sure it works out. So what I kind of like about this base, thinking that could be good for Legends, is that the fire spitters are pointing into the town hall and the revenge tower. So people could enter into the town hall and revenge tower, but then at the same time they'll deal with the fire spitters on the back end, which wouldn't be too nice. And then they could go from behind the fire spitters, but that might have some risks that they end up on a very heavy section of the base. So let's take out the traps first of all and then see where, what we might be able to do with them. So notice a sweeper behind the workshop. This is something that people do to kind of bait the fireball because people might not notice the air sweeper. Now let's think about how people might attack this base. So obviously with the fireball into Meteor Golems, where might they get a nice fireball? One thing that looks good is definitely actually this multi-inferno, because you get the fire spitter and the bomb hive. And if people do a warden walk from around here, I think they could get it pretty easily. Just need to kind of invis here, 1, 2. I don't know if it's 2 or 3. 2. Yeah, just one invis here, and then maybe one over here, like that. So 3 invis, and then you get the value that you're looking for. But then actually, I think I would prefer to enter into the town hall just to deal with the damage early, right? Yeah, because you also in Legends, you don't want to risk too much with like 1-stars and such. So sometimes you do want to enter into the town hall even if it means facing fire spitter later on. So how can we kind of bait this entry and defend it? We can see obviously that this town hall area is very stacked with a lot of damage. And maybe we want to make it that the damage is so high that if people mess up, then they can lose a lot of troops in the area. So what are kind of the possibilities that we have for this? One option is definitely to do a Tesla farm somewhere that, it's a decent idea. I'm not saying the Tesla farm should be like this. This is kind of just the first impression that I have of the base, something like this. As we test the base, then we might see whether the traps are effective or not, and then maybe we'll think, oh, maybe the Teslas would be better, I don't know, somewhere on the flank here to kind of kill a king or something, or maybe more angled towards like this. So you obviously need to test a lot to figure out what works and what doesn't. And that's just the thing with trapping. Like when you want to trap a base, it's just about can you test it a lot and figure out what people are going to do. And the more you test, then you're going to have a better idea. So I think I'll just do the traps somehow like this. Like this and like that. Now, how about, the air traps? For example, the red bombs might go like this. Now, this might be a bit on the outside, which is, good or bad. Like maybe one balloon might pull them all. You can sometimes put the red bombs a bit deeper in the base, so like this, and then maybe if we move this Tesla here, like 4 on one side, 3 on the other, somehow like this could be a possibility, and then you have black mines along inside the base, so where the healers might go, somewhere like this. In this kind of shape, and then these are, of course, I'm doing it a bit randomly, but it's kind of the general thing that you want to go for. And when you first place the traps, you shouldn't, take it too seriously, because really when you test the base, you might find out that your whole idea of how people will attack the base isn't even right, and people attack in a different way, so you need to adjust the traps. But that's, the approach you go for. Maybe we'll do another black mine here and here. And then how about the other traps, like skeleton traps can also be used here, maybe to against some kind of king on the outside. Maybe another skeleton trap over here. Or even against the warden charge, it could be good in some cases. You could even do like Teslas against the warden charge if you think there's sufficient damage. Like here we have 2 expos, scattershot, multi-archer tower, and wizard tower. So you could have Teslas to kind of support the damage and make the attacker have to invest a lot of spells on his warden. Or one nice thing to do is just to kind of figure out where you can do skeleton trap that will distract at the perfect moment. So this skeleton trap kind of has the same range as the wizard tower, like maybe if it's here. Once the warden wants to target the wizard tower, he'll hit the skeleton trap. And I think wizard tower plus expo means the warden loses health from that. So if there's skeleton trap to kind of distract, that could mean that he'll drop a little bit low on health, which could be risky. So maybe you could also just do double skeleton traps like this. And then do it like this. So for both sides it's the same. And then you have the giant bombs. How could they be placed? They could be placed near the entry to kind of make it very toxic, like here. And then if you want to do it like this, and then alright, there's a giga bomb as well. Or you could also have the giant bombs more towards here if you think that's where the royal champion is going to come in from. Spring traps as well, depending on where you think, she's going to path. And that kind of covers most of the traps. But what other kind of ideas are there? Maybe someone will want to enter the base in a different way. So we could consider that as well. We can remove the traps, or just the air traps to show you an example. Yeah, let's remove those. What if someone decides, I took out the town hall, that instead of going into the town hall after the fireball, they're like, I'm going to enter from behind this fire spitter, which is fine as well. Like, you deal with the monolith and multi-archer tower pretty easily. They don't deal much damage at all. And then you get to have a really nice and strong push over here. And then with like a king around here with the royal champion to support. And if this is... And then they would have like an overgrowth maybe on this revenge tower, and then everything will kind of be on full health around this area, and you just hope that things live, maybe totems to distract the revenge tower. So if that's kind of the approach that you think people will do, and also can depend, maybe higher level players will do one approach, lower level players will do another. You can keep the Teslas for the back end. I think they would generally work in this area, maybe not placed like this exactly. But in terms of the air traps, you could do something like even this. If you think the troops will all go into the monolith area, then the red bombs could do two things. One is that they would kill any coco-loons that would come into the monolith, and then the healers could be killed by black mines, kind of like this. Or another thing could be, sometimes people totally mess up their coco-loons, that they just go in random places, and then the red bombs will kill the healers, which is great. Or even if they damage them a bit, the poison tower could potentially kill the healers later on. So that's another thing you could do with the red bombs. So that's always an interesting approach. You can even, one more trick with the red bombs is to place them a bit like this. And what this does is it means that if there are balloons that go onto the monolith, they won't actually trigger the red bombs, and the air defenses should kill them, and then the healers would get hit by those red bombs later on. Now, one annoying thing is that the boogers from the sneezy, even though they no longer trigger red bombs, they get targeted by them if they get triggered by something else. So like a balloon might trigger a red bomb, it might die, and then the red bombs would go on to the sneezy's boogers, which would be annoying, and they wouldn't, hit the healers. So that's what you should look out for. Like, note that you still can't guarantee that red bomb farms will be 100% perfect, and there are also balloons from the troop launcher that will kind of make it difficult to put a perfect red bomb farm, which is why you need the black mines afterwards to kind of bait the healers. And note also, actually, when I think about it, these skeleton traps also work against like a king maybe on the outside. Like he could get stopped here and the wizard tower would hit him. So that could help as well, in addition to defending the warden charge. So as I've always said, if traps can do more than one thing, that's always a good placement for them, and that's very nice. And the Teslas could be towards the back end, so that's one way to do it. And I also have a minion prince somehow, maybe he was around here, or not exactly, but doesn't matter. So that's really all I have to say for this video. I hope you liked some of the examples I gave, saw how you can defend Meteor Golems with the trap placements, like doing the air traps, the Tesla farm, maybe to mess up a fireball. Actually, in this case, I don't think they can mess up the fireball too much if they do it if you do them like here, because the warden will be easily kind of able to, maybe the sneeziest boogers would trigger those Teslas and the attacker would kind of warden walk them. But in some cases you can use Teslas to stop fireballs, like mess up the pathing a little bit. If you need the warden to go a bit deep in, and if it's kind of going to be difficult for him to set up the pathing, like if there's our storages here maybe, and here along this area, then maybe the warden walk would have to go deeper to set up the pathing, and then Teslas could help to stop that. But that's just another idea I have, or another idea that you could use. But that's really it for this video, just showing you how you can trap bases against Meteor Golems, how to use the air traps, the Teslas, the giant bombs and spring traps always against royal champions kind of on the outside, or even kings, the snakes from the snake bracelet. That's just it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this, and bye bye.